Alright, this is Seaman number 41. I like to use me unboxing videos and stuff like that to springboard comics to review in the following week. And when it is an Iron Man trade I unbox, I am usually up shit creek since I have like 5 Iron Man comics. And I cannot be arsed doing another video about the cross-dressing or another one about Force Works. Then I remembered this fill-in issue of Seaman by the same writer as those bad Iron Man comics. And it has War Machine in it too. We also have something in this that is a very common problem with comic book artwork and character redesigns. And that is, we have this design for Seaman. This was a redesign introduced by Tom Queen's best friend, Charlie. And it looks good when he does it. It is one of those designs, though, that only looks any good when he draws it. And even if the artist is deliberately trying to do a similar style, or the artist has a similar style like this, it still just does not work. The same thing happened with The Excellent Men, when they got a manga artist to redesign the entire team. Seaman, he dumps this look after this fill-in issue. And the art style doesn't really work for Seaman. Even when Charlie was doing it, he is a good artist, but it's not a style that makes much sense for a shirtless man in a Speedo. And the exaggeration of his ears in this issue makes him look like a goblin. The story here is we have some very, very basic territorial dispute between the seamen of SeaWorld and the surface dwellers of Surface Dwell Land. And I think having Seaman face War Machine is a neat little premise. Seaman has a long-standing history of being an Iron Man foil for some reason. And so you have this new Iron Man character. Yeah, have him spar with Seaman for an issue. It is a good way to set up and establish War Machine in the wider Marvel universe outside of just the Iron Man books. With the art in this, there's something I think I need to mention. It was brought to my attention by a viewer, Bob the Viewer. He pointed out how many of these 90s books were edited by the same person, Michael Rockwitz. And I have been thinking about it for 2 weeks now, and I think I have perfectly nailed down what a Michael Rockwitz book is. They were comics that were struggling and had below average art. They're not necessarily bad books. They're not all ugly books. They are just books that are really lacking direction or an identity. Like this, the art never improves on this book until it's cancelled. Kaiser, same with that book. And this series and Kaiser have another interesting connection, which I will get to after I gone through his other books to prove me point. Four was another of his books. Had the same problem that the art didn't get better until he was replaced as editor. Captain America, kind of the outlier here, because the art in that does get better. We get Dave Edgar Hoover, but Daniel LaRusso takes over editing that shortly after. So it's possible it was never Michael Rockford who got a good artist for the series. When it comes to the art and the art on his series, I think it is fair to say he did not have a clue. Some research has proved to me that he was the editor who actually encouraged Herb Trimfeld to do that awful fucking ugly 90s style. He was also the editor who fired Steve Lightbulb from Kaiser after an issue and a half and replaced him with far less experienced or even appropriate artists. All the art in his books is at best bland and at worst dreadful. This isn't getting to the stories themselves, which brings us to the fascinating way that this series ends, from Michael Rockford's serious deficiency of management ability. First, we need to look at Kaiser. Kaiser was struggling badly on the market after Greg Batman left, and the artists it got were not even attempting to maintain that sort of interest. They were just generic, cheap artists. To try and boost sales, Marky Mark thought to do a big Kaiser crossover called Starburst. It was a disaster, edited by Michael Rockford. And the disaster is almost fully because of him. First, it got zero support. There was only like 3 other books that tied into Starburst. The main book that tied into it was this, which was also edited by Michael Rockford. And its tie-in is so ludicrously light, it may as well not have. The main Starburst series suffered from the art. Herb Trimfeld was the artist. And he didn't even last the full thing. He did 2 issues and couldn't do any more. And then, finally, there was just terrible office management. Characters are set up in Starburst as being involved in the story, and then they are pulled from it. It's meant to be a big Marvel crossover, and it couldn't even get the okay to keep Black Star and Alan Watson in the story. So of course the Avengers are not in it. Fantastic Force were meant to be in it, but they weren't. And the crossover was such a disaster sales-wise. It killed Kaiser's series with a fatal edge shot. Kaiser would have been cancelled anyway, but Starburst, I think, only made it more severe. So, after that, he does the exact same thing with Seaman a few months later. Seaman's book is not selling, so we have a big Seaman crossover to renew interest or get people paying attention to it. SeaWorld's Rising it is called, and it is the exact same problems again. Almost verbatim. It gets zero support. There's only I think 2 books that tie into it this time. The art for the main series, I didn't think you could even point to someone as meant to be the main artist of it. We have Herb Trimpfeld again, MCYI man. I think Rich Fulcher shows up. I didn't really remember. Funnily enough, identical thing happens with Alan Watson again. The only characters who appear in that crossover, other than Seaman characters, are Fantastic Force and Thor. They managed to lock down Thor for it. And then I realised, no they didn't. Since Starburst, Thor's series had been taken over by Michael Rockford too. And Thor's book doesn't even tie into it. This has become a video all about Michael Rockford now. Sorry if you wanted to know my thoughts on this fight between War Machine and Seaman. You are not getting it. Blame Bob the viewer for hijacking this video by making me aware of Michael Rockford as an editor. Really, I probably shouldn't have named him. Like how I didn't name the Iron Man editor at the time, because he was just bad at his job. But you know what? This book, Kaiser, even parts of Thor and Captain America, they may have art that played a huge part in sinking them as books, but the scripts were okay or had good bits in them. The books just needed a better editor to get involved. And actually, I just defeated my point there. I was trying to offer a positive about Michael Rockford, and then expanded on that positive by saying that the thing holding it back was Michael Rockford. This issue, which I didn't really talk about, is... I think this cover does it justice. Judge this book by its cover because the cover is accurate. Whatever you feel towards this cover is how I feel about the issue. 7 thumbs up.